3 weeks to go in the regular season. Where is your team heading in the postseason?
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC squad.
What is up? Welcome to the SEC Baseball Squad. 3 weeks left. Can you believe it? 3 weeks left in the regular season, and then it's down to Hoover, and then hosting regionals, and playing in regionals, and supers, and Omaha. Some people don't know what that's like, but a lot of people on this call right now know exactly what that's like. Best time of the year that's coming up here in the next couple weeks. We're going to look back at how your team performed over the weekend, what you got coming up, and again, kind of that postseason look as we are nearing the end here of the regular season. Steven, let's start with you, man. What did Ole Miss do this past weekend? How'd you fare?
They took 1 out of 3 from Georgia. They honestly should have won the series, but the big problem that they had early in the year just kind of resurfaced. They scored, I think, 17 runs or 18 runs, and 17 of them were via the home run. It was weird. It was home run or nothing. There was no situational hitting, and that jumped back to bite Ole Miss. I left Oxford, Mississippi at 11:30 in the morning on Saturday. The first pitch of the Ole Miss Georgia game on Saturday, I was in Fulton, Mississippi. By the time they were done with that doubleheader, I was in my driveway in Central Florida. That is how long of a day that Ole Miss had playing baseball Saturday. And then they lost on Sunday, and they were just kind of done.
Arkansas jumped back in the top 25 and is now, I guess, jumped over 500 in SEC play. A 2-1 series win over Mizzou. John, congrats on that.
Yeah, well, first off, we've been in the top 25.
Yeah, I know. I changed what I said, all right? I changed what I said.
Yeah. So already getting disrespected. That's fine. It's normal here. It's like you won the series against Missouri. Arkansas actually had a 15-game winning streak against Missouri. Now, I don't care who it is. To win in baseball 15 straight times is great, but losing game 3 is really frustrating. I don't think I've ever seen Razorback fans be more annoyed and upset and angry at a series win in a while. But it's just kind of what this team has been. They look good at times, but then they just look like they've never played before. This is a team that absolutely could be a top 16 seed and host a regional. They're also a team that could be a 2 seed going over to Southern Miss for all I know. Like, we just really don't know. So these final 3 series are going to be important. But this last weekend against Missouri, you won the series, but it doesn't make you feel any better about the rest of the season and their chances of doing something special here.
Again, I think that's the case for so many teams in the SEC this year. I mean, the standings are starting to take shape a little bit. We'll go over there in a moment, but Georgia's got a game lead on A&M. A&M's got a game lead on Texas. Mississippi State has a game lead on Auburn. Auburn a game lead on Florida, but then at Florida and Ole Miss and Arkansas and Oklahoma, and then there's 3 teams with 10 wins. So there's still kind of a jumbleness there in the middle of the league that. Some weekends they look good, some weekends they don't. Jimmy, last weekend, Thursday, Alabama looked pretty good. Friday in a doubleheader, which, by the way, having your entire weekend with a Thursday start, doubleheader on Friday was just amazing. But Alabama fell in doubleheader fashion to Tennessee on Friday, lost that series 2-1. And I feel like for you, again, like it's kind of been that same story. Alabama looks great one day, and then defense and just Little League bad news bear stuff kind of got to him on Friday.
Yes, been saying it all year. I don't think Jekyll and Hyde describes it well enough. I think this team, Alabama, going all the way back to weekend 1 of the SEC conference season, Alabama could beat the Dodgers one night and lose to that League of Their Own team with Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell the next night. I mean, they're crazy great at times and ridiculously bad at other times. So Jekyll and Hyde doesn't describe it. It's up Mount Everest high, and then it's like below ground New Orleans low. But what's the end result of that? Really, it's 500. And Alabama's basically a 500 team in this league. That's probably what they've been from the start, despite sweeping SEC teams, despite being swept by teams, despite beating Tennessee on the road and then looking really bad twice the next day. ultimately it's a 500 team in this league, but everybody on this show knows that a 500 team in this league is good. Somehow, some way, you're a good team if you finish 500 in the SEC. So Alabama will enter the postseason dangerous. They could beat somebody, and then they could lose to somebody by 25 runs that's not even in the postseason.
That's like a lot of these SEC teams, like Alabama this year, Tennessee likely this year. Like, you don't want to see them as a 2 in your region whatsoever.
No,
I mean, it's
great point.
Tennessee was a 2 in the Clemson regional a couple years ago, and just made quick work of it, right? And we see it every single year. So those dangerous SEC 2s, if you're not hosting, and there's a ton that'll host, you don't want to see them in the region. And yeah, I mean, I was texting Jimmy on Saturday morning after the series had already wrapped up, 3-game series. And so I'm not dunking on Alabama or anything, but I was kind of making the joke. Like, I watched Tennessee baseball play defense in 2025, and I thought that was the worst defense I've ever seen in my life. And oh my God, like, third baseman can't make a throw, first baseman can't make a catch. A superstar who will be a top 10 pick in Justin LeBron literally can't throw to first base. Jimmy, like, he can't set his feet and throw. Everything's got to be off balance on the run. Like, he can't literally field a ball, set his feet, and throw. Have you noticed that? I mean,
he's the perfect. Justin LeBron is the perfect poster child for what's happened to Alabama baseball this year. This is a top 10 pick in the draft that sometimes plays to that, and other times you wonder if he shouldn't come back and work on his game more, because he's got a lot of development to do. The defense this year, the defense was a plus. If you read every scouting report on LeBron going into this year, it's like, this guy plays shortstop and is a plus defender. He's sort of an all-star there. Defensively, LeBron has been really, really bad. I'm sure he leads not only the league, probably the country in errors. Yeah. And he's a top 10 pick or potentially a top 10 pick in the draft. It's been bizarre, but I think that sort of capsulizes Alabama's season, is that even Justin LeBron looks really bad at times, but he's exactly who you want on the field to make a big play, to be up at bat when it's, the bottom of the ninth and you're down by a run. Crazy season. I would say it's been fun. I don't know. It's been bizarro world, really, is what it's been, watching Alabama play baseball all year long, really.
Depends on the night. Yeah. Good pitching. Or Upchurch is going to be such a stud, is a stud. Yeah. And he turns around, tries to get the lead runner at third, and throws it into the third row, beyond third base. Tennessee, just when you think that, just when you're going to count them out again, man, every time you're going to count Tennessee out, they come back and they have a big win, or they have a doubleheader sweep, or Blaine Brown all of a sudden remembers that he can hit a baseball really far, and Tegan Kuntz pitches like a legit first rounder. And so Tennessee had their backs against the wall big time on Friday. Doubleheader sweep, had a career outing from Tegan Kuntz. Trent Grenlinger, true freshman, absolute stud. Tennessee's the offense finally starting to round into form, which is scary because, again, these are top all 100 perfect game prospects that are in this lineup, and they're starting to play like it. What do we have coming up this week, John? What's Arkansas got coming up on the docket, and what's the significance of this weekend for the Razorbacks?
Well, they're actually playing Stevens Ole Miss Rebels this weekend. And it's in Fayetteville, which is, these are two teams that they've had some pretty great series between the two of them. And it's just like every other sport, it seems like. But this game's at home. And I would like to sit here and say, but when it's in Baum, you always know that something crazy is going to happen. Well, actually, Arkansas has not played very well at Baum-Walker Stadium. This has kind of been a weird year where the only series that they've won in the SEC at home has been against Mississippi State, ironically enough, which was the first series. The other ones that they've had, they got swept by Florida. They played Georgia and won one of those games, but the third game they had every record known to man set on them as they gave up 26 runs on their home field. It's just not been the same. So it's significant because Arkansas has 3 series left. Obviously, Ole Miss at home this weekend, then Oklahoma the next weekend at home, and then Kentucky on the road. So you're in a position to where if you win all 3 of these series, you're in a pretty great spot to be able to host a regional. But it has to start with this one against Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is better than Oklahoma. I feel like this is Arkansas's best series left on the schedule. And if you win this one, you feel like you're in a good spot to get to that point. But if you lose this series at home against Ole Miss, not to say you can't have a good season, not to say you can't go on a run, but it just doesn't feel as good feeling like, hey, we got to win these final 2 feel good about hosting a regional. And I love that for my business and for Locked On, because it's a lot more fun to be at home than traveling to Stillwater or some crap like that.
Steven, how big of a weekend is this for Ole Miss?
Ole Miss and Arkansas baseball is probably one of the top 2 or 3 rivalries in the whole conference. Over the last, they've had some Van Horn and Bianco going back and forth. They've had some wars over the year. You remember about 10 years ago, there was the Arkansas player that pretended to get hit by the pitch and all of that. There's just weird stuff that happens when Ole Miss and Arkansas get together. It's going to be great, but underrated tonight, Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. Governor's Cup. So that on top of the Arkansas series is going to be difficult. Ole Miss needs to figure out a way not to get swept, get at least one game, and kind of go from there. If you do that, you're going to be all right.
Jimmy, what's Alabama got to do to get back to 500 and feeling better about themselves heading into the final 2 weeks?
They get Vanderbilt at home this weekend. So, obviously Vanderbilt's extremely dangerous, just like every team in the SEC. I think.
But that pitching, man, I mean, who knows what you're going to get?
2 out of 3 for Alabama will be great. Alabama tends to be one of these, 3-0 or 0-3 type weekends. That's often the result. But just performing well, getting a little bit of stability would be nice. I don't know that it's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. But Vanderbilt at home, win 2 out of 3. You end the weekend at 500. Still a ranked team. Alabama's RPI is sparkling. I think it was 6. Even after the Tennessee games on
6
Friday.
Going into the weekend, I know
6
that.
Going into the weekend. I doubt it fell much at all, losing 2 of 3 in Knoxville. So Alabama's RPI is great, but still, you want to finish 500. You got to win 2 of 3 against Vanderbilt to get back to exactly 500 in the league.
Tennessee's got Kentucky. I called last weekend a must-win series for Tennessee, and I hate when we do must-win game, but it really was. I mean, Alabama was so hot or cold. You're playing at home. You needed to play catch-up because you end the season with Texas and on the road at Oklahoma. So these next 2 weekends, Alabama, you needed to take advantage at home, and then on the road at Kentucky, which is where Tennessee is this weekend. Man, Kentucky began SEC play sweeping Alabama, and then Kentucky has dropped every single series since. It's wild, just completely wild. So this isn't a must-win series. Yeah, I'm not calling it a sweep, but like Tennessee can go up there and sweep these cats, like literally. Wouldn't shock me. Also, Tennessee's been so inconsistent all year long. If Tennessee goes up there and wins 1 and loses 2, it won't shock me. But I think on that same vein for the Vols, you're at 10 SEC wins. You have 9 games left. Lucky number 13 with the RPI in this league is going to get you in. 14's a lock. And then you get to 500, you're in that conversation for hosting a regional. So plenty of opportunities left. Go take advantage of a weaker team on your schedule. That is Kentucky on the road in Lexington this weekend. Tennessee needs to continue to pick up some wins before playing Texas and Oklahoma, because those wins are going to be few and far between. We'll take a look at the standings. We'll take a look at an interesting stat about reigning national champions. A couple of us in here know what that's like. Some don't. We'll get into that here in a moment when we return right here on the SEC Baseball Squad. The NBA playoffs are here. Every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started right now. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I'll use them FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place. You can check stats, trends, matchups before making your picks, which makes the whole experience just a lot more informed as well. Whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level of excitement to the game. A really easy to navigate app as well. It makes the playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. So we're talking NBA playoffs right now, but NHL is happening right now. Major League Baseball is happening, but those futures for college football playoffs as well. But you look at the futures for the College World Series. We did this last week, and not a whole lot of change over at FanDuel Sportsbook. UCLA still has the best odds. College World Series winners this year at plus 650. Georgia Tech at plus 700. Texas, the first SEC team, at plus 950. Then Mississippi State's there at plus 1600s. A&M at plus 1600. Georgia plus 1700. Auburn at plus 2200. And the Florida Gators still at plus 2700. Ole Miss plus 3,500. Those are the top SEC teams that I see who made the cut right there. So it's going to be Omaha time before you know it. Again, get those futures, all that more for the College World Series, for NBA playoffs, for college football as well, over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Go check it out today. Safe, secure, easy to use that. FanDuel.com. It's where you can play your game with FanDuel. All right, guys, so I talked about this stat a lot last year. I covered Tennessee. Eric Kane hosts Locked On Vols.
Real quick before I forget, let me tell you, I've got an idea for a rivalry trophy that can be played between Kentucky and Tennessee. And tell me what you think about this. You get a wooden baseball bat, you paint half of it orange, half of it blue, you call it the barrel, and you play every year for it.
You know, that sounds amazing. I bet people would love doing that, right? You could write the scores on it each and every single time, you know, whoever wins, and they get to keep it for that year. I mean,
maybe
what
thirsty.
A concept.
Whole idea made me thirsty.
Yes, it did. Man, I love that so much. I think Tennessee has it. It's actually in one of the founder suites at Neyland Stadium. But again, don't get me started on the fact that we sell alcohol and we got corporate alcohol sponsors and all that, just ridiculous. I didn't introduce everybody earlier because I'm really bad at my job. Eric Kane, Locked On Vols. Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. Jimmy Stein, Locked On Bama. John Neighbors, Locked On Hogs and Locked On Razorbacks. I covered Tennessee, so I paid attention to the stat a lot last year after Tennessee won a national championship. It's really hard for teams to find repeat success in SEC play the next year coming off that natty. You go back to the year 2022, Tennessee's the only team that's been a reigning champion to have an above 500 record in SEC play last year. And here in Knoxville, everything was horrible. Like, everything was terrible. Tennessee was able to get 16-14. Mississippi State, after winning in 21, they were 9-21 in SEC play in 2022. Ole Miss, after winning, they were 6-24 in SEC play. LSU, after winning in 23, they went 13-17. Tennessee, the outlier, 16-14 last year after winning in 2024. And then Ole Miss with their 15th loss over the weekend, securing they're not going to have a winning season SEC play. They are 6-15 in conference play right now. Yeah, 6-15. So why is that, John Neighbors? Why is it incredibly hard for teams coming off a national championship? I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm sorry. I know you're rolling your eyes. I want your opinion. Why is this so difficult for teams to find 6-9 success?
Well, it's because, at least in my opinion, kind of like with Arkansas last year, a lot of Razorback fans, myself included, felt like that was Dave Van Horn's best team he's ever had. Just as far as top to bottom, they had the Gold Spikes winner of Ahiva Aloy. Pitching was deep, and they had a guy throw a no hitter in the College World Series. I mean, it was an incredible year that just didn't end up with the title. And to me, I think it's just, especially in baseball, and especially more now than ever, teams and coaches will go all in on that 1 year. And I think that's kind of what happened last year with Arkansas. I'm not saying that they can't ever get back to it or that there won't be success, but sometimes it's just about, hey, we're going to go all in to make sure we keep this guy here. We're going to make sure that we go really hard after these guys. Like, we're going to put it together because this is going to be the 1 year, and then we'll figure it out later. I think teams do that fairly often, and I think coaches do that fairly often because baseball, it's all about individual achievement. Hey, if you get a good hitter, it's not like you say, hey, I hope he fits our system. It's like, no, it's just, you got yourself a good hitter out of the portal. And so I just think that sometimes it's just about the stars aligning. And when it does align, it's such a rare thing. And it's probably why the SEC has had so many different champions, except for one that has won so often over the past few years. But it's not like it's just been one team dominating. It's not like it's just one school that's getting them all. It's been very all over the place because, hey, sometimes it's your turn, sometimes it's your turn, sometimes it's your turn. I just think a lot of these coaches just do whatever they can for that 1 year to go all in and make it happen.
Yeah, and Ole Miss, I feel pretty confident about this. They had the benefit of the COVID year, the free year, to kind of stockpile on top of that third year, because Ole Miss was one class every year you were playing for when they were a senior, so you can make the run that year. Well, the COVID year, you got an extra year, so it didn't count against it. So you actually had more scholarships than back then, the 11.7. And Ole Miss and Mississippi State were able to leverage that into that. But after that, all of those players graduated and they were gone, and you had a bunch of freshmen coming in to replace them on their scholarship numbers, and it was really hard for Ole Miss and Mississippi State and them to contain that. Now, everybody gets a scholarship. There is no 11.7. It's not like – and surprisingly, Vanderbilt is not as good as they used to be now that everybody can give everybody a scholarship. So I think that is something that is pretty much the main thing, especially for the Mississippi schools that were, as John said, really bought in on 1 year, and then they had the COVID year on top of that.
Yeah, I think it starts with the fact the SEC is insanely competitive. You have to be really good to be really good because everyone's good. But I think to achieve at the top, to be truly elite in college baseball, go to Omaha and win, you probably have a team made up of a lot of draft eligible juniors and seniors that are moving on to pro baseball. You have a lot of those guys, and then you win the championship and they all move on, and you got to start building your lineup again, which is just impossible then to compete against SEC teams the following year. It's probably a lot of turnover happens with those championship level teams.
Also, and I think LSU's actually done a better job than probably anybody with this. Now, granted, they go to Omaha and they've obviously won 2 of the last 3 national championships. It's tough to go for it all and also balance the transfer portal, which is open. Tennessee in 2024, they hosted, I guess whatever that date was. I don't think it was I think it was Supers, maybe it was both. Anyway, they hosted some players, for Supers or whatever. But I mean, it's tough. And then you go to Omaha and you're there for almost 2 weeks, and you can jump on some Zooms and you can do all that, but you can't host anybody. You can't go see them in person. You're kind of playing behind the 8 ball there, but also you're playing for a national championship. You're where you always want to be, but also you're kind of sidetracked trying to think about next year and having some of those conversations as well. Some players who aren't going to be on your roster. I just think at points in times you're behind the 8 ball a little bit. LSU, O.J. Johnson, I don't know how he does it, man. They're pulling out transfer portal commits right and left during their Omaha stay. I think Tennessee maybe got one, when it was in Omaha in 2024, and then had a lot of work to do. Also, just from seeing this firsthand.
You talk about Jay Johnson. Last year he might have been doing that, but there was a lot of misses this year. Yeah. So maybe there's a problem with that because the LSU team this year is the direct result of the transfer portal misses that they had a year ago.
Yeah, happens in football. Happens in football too. You can have a bad,
really good point.
Bad picking year.
Seeing it firsthand, like Tennessee when they won, they came back, had the parade, they had to do this, that, and then as soon as they were home for 2 days, all the coaches left and they were in the Cape Cod, they were going to seeing this high school player, going to seeing this transfer portal, and they didn't have a chance to breathe and take a second until mid-September when everybody was back here and they got through the draft and all that, and then it's time for fall ball. So I don't know, boo-hoo, you won a national championship. No one's going to feel sorry for you. But, it's one of those things where, you're just constantly going, and I think you're behind the 8 ball sometimes and trying to find your next team in the transfer portal or, like Steven said, misevaluate.
Well, it's like what I feel like with Arkansas. The teams that they had the best chance, or at least the teams that were in position to possibly win it all, came off of a year to where they had early exit. In 2017, they lost in a regional to Missouri State at home with assistant coaches of Wes Johnson and Tony Vitello. But they lost early. And then the next year is 2018. Of course, we all know the drop foul ball away from winning a College World Series, because I agree. I think they were able to kind of get ahead of the game and in the offseason get after it. And then the same thing happened even last year. The year before that, Arkansas lost in the regional again at home to Southeast Missouri State and Kansas State. And everyone was like, what is going on? But that extra time, I feel like, really helped them get after it into the portal a little bit, get a jump on it. And this year, I'm not saying that if I wanted Arkansas to lose early last year, that's not what I'm saying, but there is some sort of science behind it to where the earlier the exits, it seems like the better response you have the next year compared to you going to the World Series and being part of it and having to focus on that for so long and then trying to play catch up when it's all said and done.
Sat there in Fayetteville covering that super regional. Tennessee got beat 2-0, and sat there in that post-game press conference, and Tony straight up said, Tony Vitello was like, hey, we didn't recruit well enough. We didn't do well enough in the transfer portal. That's not going to happen again. And he left Fayetteville with a list of 13 guys. 13. Now, again, there was 34 roster cut down. There was a lot of other things in play. Last year was a wacky offseason. But he left. He and Elander and the staff left with 13 players listed, players they wanted to keep. The rest, for the most part, they were gone to the transfer portal. They were casualties, and then they went out and attacked the transfer portal. Ironically, the team he put together is now playing, but he's coaching the one out there in the Bay in San Francisco, and they're actually playing better baseball right now. So,
yeah,
it's weird. I saw that stat. I was reminded by it because I remember a lot last year, but it's pretty tough to have that sustained success because this league is so very challenging.
it was just nice for Arkansas to end Tony Vitello's tenure at Tennessee. And it was also great to see him crying in the press conference, being like, I miss those guys when he was talking about Arkansas. So I can't wait for him to be the future coach whenever Dave Van Horn retires and he's done in the MLB. It'll be great.
Everybody's rooting for the Giants to have success because we all know what happens if he comes back to college, and we don't. We're not ready for it, all right? We're not ready for it. We're just going to cut it right there in tape. All right. Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. John Neighbors, Locked On Razorback. Jimmy Sound, Locked On Bama. I'm Eric Kane of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. Check out all of our shows. Make it your first listen each and every single morning. Your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Join the Everydayer Club. Locked On yourteam.com. LockedOnVols.supercast.com. It'll be Locked On Bama.supercast.com. All the other stuff right there. Join the Everydayer Club. Ad-free audio version of the show, access Locked On merch store, and so much more. Locked On Vols, Everydayer Club. Go check it out here today. Appreciate you guys for being here. This has been the SEC Baseball Squad.